Okay, great work on those tests yesterday, and now we're going to do stuff for the final. The final's about 17 or 18 problems. I can't remember. That's really not bad at all for a final. Okay, now you have this sheet here, and that's to look off of, not to write on. With these final reviews, I won't give you any to do on your own, but that means you got to be watching the video. To get the credit for the assignments, you got to watch all the problems and get done with them. Okay, I mean, I'm not going to pile the work on at this point, but I'm just reviewing and so forth. Okay, now one of the things we did spend a lot of time on is solving inequalities. That's less than and greater than. Okay, so when you're solving inequalities, first you draw, and you want to be on this side. There's two sides to this. This shows you how to solve inequalities, and this is going to be for the graphing. Okay, so first you're going to draw the number line with 0 in the middle, okay? Because when you solve a greater than or less than problem, what you're trying to find is the one number, the critical number, and then if it goes less than or greater than. Okay, now make sure all x's in the problem have a number in front. So this x right here will need a 1 in front of it. Okay, if it doesn't have 1, you put a 1. Okay, you can't have any parentheses. I don't have any of those. And you can't have more than one x. Okay, now if you have more than one x, you have to fix that problem. The same side, you're going to draw your adding pyramid. And on opposite sides, you're going to have to switch sorry, that should be the right, not the left. The right to the opposite. Okay, it's supposed to be the right. Okay, well, in this problem right here, I only have one x, so that's not a problem. I can ignore that. Now dot and circle your x. So 1 dot x, circle. And if there's a now, after this, if there's a negative dot number, you're going to switch the sign under the number line. Okay. The dot number is a positive 1, so the sign won't switch. So I need to go under here and just keep it the same. Okay. If there's a negative, if that would have been a negative 1, I would have had to switch that sign so it went the other way. Okay, now I add or subtract outside the circle if I have to, and I have to because there's a plus 3, so I'm minus 3, minus 3. So I have 1 dot x, and then the sign, and then negative 1. Okay, then I divide, and after I divide, I'm going to fill in under the number line, so I'm going to fill this sentence in. So I'm going to divide by 1, those cancel. So I have x. Then I have my sign, didn't change, and then negative 1 divided by 1 is negative 1. Okay. Now your order must be correct. The x should come before the number, and it does, so that order is correct. I'm going to write correct. And now I'm ready to graph it on the number line. So I have negative 1, so I'm going to circle. Now you're not going to fill it in. You only fill it in if there's a line under this nose. Now, it looks like somebody's nose. The nose points to the left, so that means the arrow goes to the left. It's less than, okay? And there we go. Okay, next problem. Draw the number line with 0 in the middle. Make sure all x's in the problem have a number in front. So here's my x. It doesn't have a number right in front. The 5's not right in front because there's a plus sign, so I need to put a 1 in front of that. So it says 5 plus 1x. Okay, make sure there are no parentheses, and there are not any. You can't have more than one x, and that's not a problem. I just have the one x. Now I dot and circle the x. Okay, and now after I have that circled, I need to do step 6. I need to decide if the sign's going to change or not. Now, is there a negative inside of that circle? Nope, there's not. So the sign's not going to change. It's going to go the same way. Okay. Again, if there's a negative dot number, here the dot number is 1. It's not negative, but if it is, you got to switch the sign under the number line. Okay, add or subtract outside the circle if you have to. Well, we have to because there's this 5 outside of it. Okay, so I need to subtract 5, and I subtract it from 2. Okay, so 2 minus 5 is negative 3, and then I have my sign, and then I have 1 dot x. Okay, now it's time to divide. And when I divide, I'm going to want to write the stuff over here now. So negative 3 divided by 1 is negative 3. And then I'm going to have the x. Now the order must be correct. Well, this is incorrect. And the reason it's incorrect is because x should come first in the sentence, not the negative 3. So what I do is I switch the order, put the x first, and then that sign changes. Okay? And there we're good. So negative 3. So incorrect. If it's incorrect, I'm going to cross that out because I want to write it as correct. Okay, so you want to circle above the negative 3, and you have the bar underneath, so you want to fill it in. Again, you fill it in if the line's underneath. That's how you know. And the nose points to the left, so it goes to the left. Okay, my next problem. Draw the number line with the 0 in the middle. Make sure all x's in the problem have a number in front. Well, this has a 6 right in front of it, so I do not need to put a 1 in front of it. Okay, it's a 6, negative 6. Okay, no parentheses, that's good. Can't have more than one x, and I don't. I just have the one single x. Dot and circle the x. And now, under this number line, after I do the dot circle, I got to decide if I'm going to switch the sign or not. Okay? Now, again, if there's a negative dot number, you got to switch the sign under the number line. So that's a negative, so we got to turn that sign so it goes the other direction. Because when you multiply or divide by a negative on both sides, you're going to switch it, and that dot number tells me that. Okay, now it is time to divide. Add or subtract outside the circle if you have to. Well, we don't have to add or subtract because this isn't on the same side as the negative 6 dot x. Okay, so I don't have to add or subtract. I need to divide. And as I'm dividing, I want to go write the answer right here. So I have x, and the sign has been turned around because I'm dividing both sides by negative, and negative 18 divided by negative 6 is 3. Okay, so positive 3 is the critical number. So you're going to circle it, and there's a bar there, so you're going to want to fill it in, and then the nose would go this way, so it goes to the left. Okay, now the next one, x divided by negative 3 is greater than or equal to 2. Now you're going to draw the number line, and then you're going to not look at this sheet, because a fraction changes the game. First off, I would like this right here to have a number under it so the fractions match. So I put a 1 under it. Okay. Now I'm going to cross multiply and divide. CMAD. Cross multiply and divide. But before I do that, I have to decide if the sign's going to change. What is under the x? Okay, what is underneath? Is there a negative underneath the x? I don't care about here. Is there a negative underneath the x? There is. So that sign is going to change. Okay, this is the key number to look at to decide if the sign's going to change. Okay, so I'm going to cross multiply and divide. I just take negative 3 times 2, multiply diagonally, and then divide by 1. So I'm going to have x on this side because that's where it was at. I'm going to take negative 3 times 2 divided by 1. I got negative 6. So really not that hard, but you have to check that bottom number with the x if it's positive or negative. Okay, so my critical number is negative 6. I circle it. I have the bar. And the nose points that way, so it's going to go this way. Okay, next problem. Draw a number line with 0 in the middle. That's always the first step when you're solving for a greater than or less than. Make sure all x's in the problem have a number in the front. Okay, so the x has a negative 6 right in front of it, so I'm good there. I don't have to put a 1. No parentheses, and I don't have any. You can't have more than one x. Well, I only have one x right here. Okay, so I don't need to do anything here. Dot and circle your x. And after that's been dotted and circled, we have to decide if we're going to have to change the sign or not. This right here. Simple question. Do you have a negative? Is the negative a dot number? The number that's multiplied by the x is -6. Well, it's negative, so that will have to change. Go the other way. Okay, add or subtract outside the circle if you have to. Well, I have to because we have this -5 outside it. So I plus 5 plus 5. So -6 dot x is less than 18. Okay, now divide, and when I'm dividing, I want to fill it in right here. Okay, so I divide both sides by the -6, and I have x, and then 18 divided by -6 is -3. And that is correct. The ordering in that is correct. We should always have the variable, the sign, then the number. If it goes number, sign, letter, then you got to switch it. It's incorrect. So -3, circle, and the nose goes this way, so it goes that way. It always goes the same direction as the nose, so it's greater than. Okay, next problem. Draw the number line with 0 in the middle. Make sure all x's in the problem have a number in front. So I have an x here with a 6, and x here with a -3. Okay, I don't need to put a 1. No parentheses. And you can't have more than one x. Well, that's a problem here because I have 2 x's here and here. So I need to do something about that. Now, if they're on the same side, we're going to make our adding pyramid. If they're on opposite sides, I'm going to switch the right to its opposite. Okay, well, here's my sign, and they're on the same side. Okay, so if they're on the same side, make your adding pyramid. Just connect them and write add. So all I have to do is add 6 and -3. So 6 plus -3 is 3. So 3x, and I cross those out. Again, I added this plus this to get this. Before I put my sign, I've got to add a -4. And then the sign, and then 14. Okay, now there's only one single x. And now I can dot and circle that single x, and I need to decide what's going to happen with the sign at that point. Okay, is that a +3 or a -3? It's positive, so that sign's going to go the same direction. It will not change. Add or subtract outside the circle if you have to. Well, we have to because we have this -4 here. Remember, I'm not concerned about 14. That's not on the same side as x. So I add 4, add 4. So 3.x, the sign, and then 18. Now divide, fill in, and then you'll put your answer here. So I divide by 3, divide by 3. So I have x, have the same sign, it didn't change because that 3 is positive, and that's 6. Okay, so 6, circle, the bars there, fill it in. And nose goes that way, so we're going to go this way with it. Okay, next one, draw a number line with 0 in the middle. Make sure all the x's in the problem have a number in front. So that has 5, that has 3. We're good. No parentheses, there aren't any. Can't have more than one x. Again, we have more than one, okay? Now, are they on the same side or the opposite side? Well, here's the sign I have circled. They're on opposites. Okay. So if they're on opposite sides, you want to switch the right to its opposite. So the 3x is positive. Well, the opposite would be negative, which means I would minus to get rid of it off that side and then combine them on the other side. So 5 minus 3 is 2x, and then minus 12, and then the sign, and then -4. Okay. So again, see how this is different from this. If they're on the same side, you're going to draw your adding pyramid and just plus them. But if they're on opposite sides, you got to take the one over here and make it opposite. Okay. Now, you need to dot your number and circle it. And if that's a positive, the sign will stay the same. If it's a negative, it's different. Well, it's positive, so it'll stay this direction. Add or subtract outside the circle if you have to. Well, we got this minus 12, so I need to undo that by adding 12. So I have 2.x, the sign, and then negative 4 plus 12 is 8. Now it's time to divide. And then I put my answer over here in this sentence. So x and 8 divided by 2 is 4. Okay, so 4 is the number. Now the bar's there, so you're going to fill it in, and the nose goes that way. Okay, this last one is a little bit tricky. A lot of people got confused when they got to this one. Negative 6 is less than 3x, 3 times x plus 9, and then another less than with 21. So draw the number line with 0 in the middle. Okay. Now, if there's 2 signs circled, on all these other ones there was only 1 sign circled, but if there are 2 signs circled, that means there's going to be 2 numbers we're going to find on this number line. So make sure all x's in the problem have a number in front. It does, 3. There are no parentheses. You cannot have more than 1x. Okay, that's good. We're good. We just have the 3x. Dot and circle the x. Now, is that a negative? No, it's not. It's positive 3. So both these signs will stay the same, both of them. And if you have 2 signs, what your job is to get x by itself in the middle. Okay? Now you add or subtract outside the circle if you have to. So I got a plus 9 here. By the way, I ignore these two, okay, for now. Plus 9. So I'm going to minus 9. But then I need to minus 9 from the negative 6 and minus 9 from 21. You have to do it on the outsides as well as the inside. So I take negative 6 minus 9. I got negative 15. And then the sign. And then 3.x. And then another sign. And then 12. Okay, now it's time to divide. So I'm going to cover those up for a second. I'm going to divide this by 3, but I need to divide both of these by 3 as well. Okay, so I'm going to put my answers over here. Negative 15 divided by 3 is negative 5. And then I have the x, and then the sign again, and then 12 divided by 3 is 4. So those are the 2 numbers I'm going to be graphing, negative 5 and 4. So we put circles above both of them, and neither line, one has the line underneath, so I don't fill it in. And all you do is connect the 2 points. That means x can be any number between those 2. It's not just going for infinity like it does with the 1 answers. Okay, now flip this over, and we have graphing. Okay. Okay, now with graphing, here's the rules you follow. If x and y are on opposite sides, you're going to use the slope and y-intercept to graph it. If x and y are on the same side, you're going to use the double zeros to graph it. You're going to write the equation twice, scribble out the letter with 0, and then just divide. Now, if you only have x, you're going to put 1, 2, 3 for y, and then x can be whatever the number is there. And then only y is just reversed. Okay? So, let's look at the equation. First off, here's y and here's x. Are they on opposite sides or are they the same side? Well, it looks like they're on opposite. So given the fact they're on opposite, I want to use the slope y-intercept method. Okay, so slope is whatever's in front of the x, 1/4. Slope always has to be a fraction. And the y-intercept is the other number that doesn't have anything to do with x really, in this case -5. Now I put a little number 1 because you do the y-intercept first, okay? It either goes up or down from the middle. So it's negative, so you're going to go down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, make your first point, okay? And I'm going to write the word start because you want to start from that point. Now you use your slope to get point number 2. Now it's always up or down depending on if it's positive or negative. Well, this is positive 1, so that's up, and then I always go to the right, okay? So from this point I'm going up 1, right 4. Okay, and then connect them. And then you need to do your true-false test, okay? Now, if you remember how to do that, here's how. Pick this point right here because at that point, x and y are both 0. They have a value of 0, okay? Then come up here. The y has nothing in front of it. You just replace both these with zeros. So I have, scribble that out, put 0. And then I need to put a parentheses with the x because there's a number in front. And I'm going to scribble out the x, and I'm going to put 0. Okay. Okay, so what I have is I have 0. I have this sign here. And then I need to plug this in on my calculator. 1/4 parentheses 0 minus 5. Okay. Now, there's 2 calculators, so 1/4, so 1, ABC 4, okay, parentheses 0, and then minus 5. Just plug it in. It's easy to do. I have -5. Now, the nose should always point towards the smaller number, okay? Well, -5 is smaller than 0, and the nose does point towards the smaller number, so that's true. So I put a big T over that point. Now here's the line. I go to the other side, and that's false. That's all you got to do. Okay, next problem. 3x minus 2y is less than or equal to 12. So I have to find all the x, y points that make this true on a graph. Okay, now here's x and here's y, but this time they're not on opposite sides. They're on the same side, so I make the double zero table. You write the equation twice, so 3x minus 2y, and just put a regular equal sign. When you're writing it twice, just put a regular equals. Don't put that sign, just regular equals. Okay, and if scribble out the letter with 0, so x is 0 here, so I'm going to scribble it out. And then all I need to do is dot and divide by -2. So 12 divided by -2 is -6. Okay. And now if the y is 0, I'm going to be scribbling out the y. And then I'm going to dot my 3x, okay, and then I'm going to divide by 3. Well, 12 divided by 3 is 4. Okay, so you have 2 points. Now, it's a table, not a slope, so you're going to start from the middle both times. X is 0, y is up or down. Well, here it would be down, okay? 0 means stay, okay? So I stay and go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, this is right or left, so 4 is positive, so it's to the right, and 0 always means stay. But I go back to the middle when I do that. I don't go from here like I do with a slope, okay? So 4, 0, I go right, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I stay. Okay, just connect them. Okay, now it's time for the true or false. So again, we always want to pick that point in the middle. So x is 0, y is 0. Now, x, there's a 3 in front of it, so you're going to put a parentheses, scribble it out, and put 0 there. And the y has a 2 in front of it, so you're going to parenthesize it, scribble it out, and put a 0. So you're putting the zeros in for both letters. Okay, so I've got 3 parentheses 0 minus 2 parentheses 0. I'm guessing it's probably 0. So this side is 0, and then I have that sign, and then I have 12. What's smaller? Well, right here, does a nose point towards the smaller number? Okay. Nose has to point towards the smaller number. It's got to be sniffing the smaller number. Okay, it is, so that's true. So that's T, and that's F. Okay. Okay, now the next part. Y is greater than negative 3x plus 7. Okay, so here's Y, here's X. They're on opposite sides. So I want to use the slope and y-intercept. Slope is whatever's in front of the x, so it would be negative 3. But that has to be a fraction, so you put a 1 under it. And the y-intercept is positive 7. So this is my first point. I just go up or down. You're going to go up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I have negative 3, so I would go down and then to the right, but not from the middle. On a slope, you start from your first point, and I go down 3, right 1. 1, 2, 3, right 1. Okay, make your line. And I do my true false. So I pick the easiest point possible. So x is 0, y is 0. Now you go up here. Y doesn't have anything in front of it, so we're just going to scribble that out and put 0. I don't need parentheses if there's nothing in front of it. But the x needs to be separated from the negative 3 with the parentheses, so I scribble that out, put 0. So here I just have 0, and then I have my sign, and then I have negative 3 parentheses 0 plus 7, so I need to plug that into my calculator. I got 7. What's smaller? Okay, the nose should point towards the smaller number. It doesn't, so that is false. Okay, or it should open its mouth towards a bigger number, whichever one you like better. So that's F, and that's T. Okay, then the last one. Well, y is not even in this problem. There's only x. Okay, so only x. So I know how I'm going to set up my table right away. Okay, since y is not in the problem, we're going to go 1, 2, 3. And then x is whatever number we have with it, which is 3. Okay, so the x's are always sideways, so you're going to go, they're all positive, so you're going to go to the right. And the y's are going to be up here because 1, 2, 3 are positive. Okay. So when I'm doing an XY table, I always graph a point, then go back to the middle, graph the next point. So 1, 2, 3 up 1. 1, 2, 3 up 2. 1, 2, 3 up 3. Okay, and I make my line, and now I run my true-false test, which I always need to do with greater than or less than in graphs. Okay, so here's the easiest point. So x is 0, y is 0. Okay. And the x, only there's an x here, and it has nothing in front of it, so I'm just going to put 0. So I have 0. I have the sign, and I've got 3. Okay, so 0 is smaller. Remember, that nose should point towards this number, the smaller number. It does, so that's true. So I put T and F. Okay, I went through that kind of slow because I might need some reminders on how to do it.